Politics. Many thanks for joining us on the broadcast. For the next 120 minutes, we will dissect the biggest political and policy issues in the Republic. Wednesday this past week, the Kenyan Senate showed its claws, or did it? The Senate impeached Ferdinand Ndung'u Waititu as the governor of Kiambu, and that was followed by the not-so-swift swearing-in of economist and agricultural expert James Nyoro as the third governor of county number 22. As the fight against theft of public funds continues, is the Senate finally getting its teeth? Or was what happened in Kiambu pure politics at play? Was it a political show of might between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto over who really has the numbers in Parliament? Or was it a pure judicial exercise and a sign of what's to come? Meanwhile, the BBI train snaked its way to southeastern Kenya with a fourth rally in the county of Kitui, a chaotic one which saw Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu order the eviction of Gatundu Member of Parliament Moses Kuria from the rally. Again, the political shenanigans literally disrupting the resolutions from the people of Ukambani. So then this age-old question, what next for the Tangatanga wing of the ruling Jubilee Party who vowed to hold parallel rallies before cancelling them? Many thanks for joining us. My panel is here to help me put some of these issues into perspective here on Inside Politics. Stay with us for the next 120 minutes. Let's get right into it. Beginning in the county of Kitui during the fourth BBI rally, and KTN political reporter Murimi Mwangi was there.
Wakati anaingia hapa uwanjani na naomba nafasi nzuri.
After Kisii, Kakamega and Mombasa, Saturday was Kitui's turn to host the Building Bridges Initiative Sensitization Forum for the Lower Eastern region. In attendance being, among others, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. The first order of business being presentation of the region's memorandum, highlighting the issues the region wants addressed in the BBI.
We support powerful Prime Minister and expansion of the executive to include 2 deputy Prime Ministers and engender the top seats where opposite gender is either head or deputy.
This was, however, temporarily disrupted by the late arrival of Deputy President William Ruto allied leaders, including Senate Majority Leader Kipchumba Murkomen, Gatundu South Legislator Moses Kuria, and his Kikuyu counterpart Kimani Ichung'wah. Tension ensuing at the podium, with Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu at one point threatening to kick out Kuria from the event.
Kwa mkutano wangu hakuna atolewe aende.
BBI mbele. Pili, rais lazima apewe heshima yake. Ambaye hatapea heshima kwa rais wetu, tutamkuta kwake kwa nyumba.
Among key issues that the region wants addressed is the separation of Mwingi from the larger Kitui County.
Sisi kama wanawake tumesema tunaunga mkono BBI. Na tunaunga kwa sababu tunataka hata vijana wawe ndani ya BBI. Tunataka kazi kwa vijana. Tunataka kazi kwa wanawake.
I want to ask Governor Kibwana, coordinator wa BBI ni Charity Ngilu, tukutane wote. Let us continue to educate our people on the 7th. Ili watu wajue kila mtu ako sawa sawa. Na hakuna mabishano hapa. Hakuna mabishano. Na mtu akileta mambo mengine tunamjua huyu anapendekeza mambo mengine.
Baada ya pesa kwa hazina itumike kusaidia vijana hapa kuzalisha kazi. Pesa iko kwa mfuko ya watu wengine. Wanabeba kwa magunia. Wanakuja naye kwa harambee, kwa makanisa, kwa women group.
Wanadanganya watu, wanaambia hawa wanasema tu mambo ya position. Hawa wanasema ukubwa peke yake. Hawasemi mambo ya mtu mdogo. Mtu mdogo, uongozi wa juu ukiwa mbaya, hata hapa chini utakuwa mbaya.
All in favor of the opinion say aye. Kuna mtu wa kusema anybody to the contrary say nay? Ati? The ayes have it. Asante.
Muko nje ama muko ndani? Muko nje ama muko ndani? Ebu munionyeshe muko wapi? Ndani ya BBI.
From Kitui, the BBI sensitization forums proceed to Meru and Narok as the clock ticks fast to the June 30th deadline for the BBI steering committee to hand in the final report. Murumi Mwangi, KTN News in Kitui.
The fourth BBI sensitization meeting held in the county of Kitui. My panel is here with me to help me make sense of what happened there. I have with me political risk analyst Dismas Mokua, governance expert HESBON OWILLA, communication strategist Mark Bichachi, and lawyer and political strategist Kipchumba Karori. Many thanks, gentlemen, and good morning.
Good morning.
Let me begin with you, Dismas. What happened in Kitui? Listening to a lot of those leaders in Murimi Mwangi's reports, a lot of them are not saying anything to the people of Kitui or southeastern Kenya that is related to issues, apart from listening to the people of Kitui themselves, the Makueni governor reading out the resolutions. A lot of it has to do with politics, a lot of them hitting out at Deputy President William Ruto for criticizing the BBI, a lot of them just talking politics, basically. What do you make sense of the Kitui BBI rally, in a nutshell?
Just like all these BBI or ODM rallies, there's a lot of color, but no substance. Like, for instance, when you look at the Kitui meeting, and if you followed the proceedings from A to Z, at the end of the day, you ask yourself, what did Kalonzo Musyoka really say? He said absolutely nothing. What did Charity Ngilu say? Nothing. What did Kivuda Kibwana read? He attempted to read resolutions, but he behaved more like a professor at a university hall. Because the people he's supposed to be addressing are interested in dancing. They want to dance to reggae. They're not interested in all these issues. And in my view, that meeting was just like all these other meetings, the campaign strategy for Raila Odinga for 2022.
But does it work in terms of sensitization, in terms of rallying support for the BBI, in terms of telling the Kitui people, let's get behind this BBI, juggernaut? Is it working for that?
Well, of course it's working. At least folks in Kitui, just like in Kisii, Kakamega, and Mombasa,
yes,
get to know that there's an amorphous animal called BBI. But what is contained in BBI, nobody knows. And still, like what we said last time, the people who attended that meeting yesterday are in fact Kenya's biggest problem. Those are the governors, those are members of National Assembly, those are the senators, those are the decision makers in Kenya. They're the policy makers in Kenya. So when they come to a rally like that, and then they started describing the problem like any normal Kenyan, what are we supposed to be doing? They're supposed to be offering solutions. So when they stand there and say, tunaomba serikali, and you have a governor who runs a county government,
yes,
and another one who runs a county government, and then you have the leadership of both the National Assembly and Senate seated right there. In fact, they had a quorum. The National Assembly and Senate would even deliberate. So when you keep on saying tunaomba serikali, and you're the guys who've been elected by Mura to come up with solutions, it means simply it's a waste of time. And then number two, there was a drama which got a very good coverage. And in my view, for Moses Kuria and company, they should learn basics about protocol. I doubt Kipchumba Murkomen would run late for a meeting hosted by the deputy president, deliberately.
Right.
But so, that people are seated, and these events are characterized by horrible organization. So everybody is seated, and then you come in late when Kivuda Kibwana is reading the resolutions, and you demand to sit next to Raila Odinga. What kind of thinking is that? And in my view, if you have to say something, please go well before time. You'll be given a seat, but don't come deliberately when everybody is seated, when the meeting has begun, and then you take a position. And even the Bible is very clear on this.
Right.
That when you're invited to somebody's party, don't go and take the high seat. Sit at the back, and then you will be invited.
Okay. This sounds a lot like what has been said about many of these rallies in Mombasa, Kisii, and Kakamega. So in your book, nothing has changed in Kitui? The same script?
Nothing has changed. This is Raila Odinga campaigning for 2022.
HESBON, welcome back to the show. What do you make of Kitui rally in a nutshell?
I think in a nutshell, there are two things that we may want to situate appropriately for Kenyans. One is the resolutions that were read by Professor Kivuda Kibwana. And looking at those resolutions, they were actually articulating the economic opportunities in the Ukambani region and the eastern region generally. And in his articulation of this thing, he was not saying that the government should do this, the government should do this, like Dismas is alluding to. He was basically saying that these are opportunities. Okay. And given the right framework, these are opportunities that can be tapped on. And then the second thing we need to look at is, what did Raila Odinga say? And I've followed what Raila Odinga said in all these BBI forums. And if you want to know that this is not an amorphous movement, the way Dismas is saying, look at the statements that are made by Raila Odinga. If BBI was not on very solid ground, I think some of the things that Raila says about BBI are actually taking us back to the reason why they shook hands with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta didn't have to shake Raila Odinga's hand to have a country to lead. But he decided that for the sake of uniting this country and achieving his Big Four agenda, and if President Uhuru Kenyatta achieves the Big Four agenda, you may need to ask yourself, who is going to benefit? It is Kenyans. Because at the end of the day, I think the president term will come to an end. And if he leaves Kenyans with the Big Four achieved, it is Kenyans who will benefit. So looking at what Raila Odinga said against the backdrop of what Professor Kitui BBI talked about, Raila documented how we got to the space we got to after the elections, how the elections were characterized by malpractices. And it takes someone to get to the point and ask himself if Raila is saying that Uhuru did all this. Right. Because the last thing he said before he made the statement on what BBI will do, he said, wakirusha tunarusha, wakipeperusha, wakitangaza tunatangaza, iba tunanasa. You know, I was shocked, but wait a minute, this is BBI. I thought this was supposed to be handshake. But he took us back to what brought us here. And what brought us here is very clear, that immediately after the election, he even made a statement that President Uhuru competed against himself, so he cannot say that he won. And you see, if BBI was on shaky ground, that would antagonize the handshake. But it is from that background that you get to understand that with that kind of political environment, even the things that Professor Kitui BBI was talking about were not going to be achieved.
That's a solid point. And
but Ben, just to clarify an issue, the reason why we got the handshake was that nobody knew who had won the election, the first race. When the Supreme Court said this thing was marred by illegalities and irregularities, nobody, in all these rallies, the 4 rallies so far that have taken place, nobody has addressed them. Now, if you're an accounting student, you know the easiest subject is financial accounting because you are discussing history. And management accounting becomes very complicated. So all these rallies here, we are being treated to morticians. But there is no physician who is telling us, this is why you are ailing, and this is the prescription I'm giving you. But you will not see Haji and company receiving those reports. And the reason why I say it's amorphous, when you speak to the MPs who attended the rally yesterday and ask them, what did you achieve, you get 50 million answers.
Okay.
But
let me buttress your point and throw it to Mark here. The ODM leader, Raila Odinga, talked about the reason for the BBI and the handshake being so that Kenyans do not be at war with each other again because of what comes out of an election, pointing out to the electoral reforms. Do you think the BBI rallies and what's happening are addressing that sufficiently?
You know, it is becoming quite popular in this country to be ignorant of facts and then to rant and rave that the facts that you're ignorant about have not been done. For example, if you read the BBI document, there is an entire chapter, many pages, discussing electoral reform, discussing the history of violence in this country and what can be done. If you read the President and Raila Odinga's 9-point agenda, those things are there. But you know, it's becoming quite funny to me that we want to ignore that the BBI document addresses these issues, but we want to act as though it doesn't because we want to focus, when we look at the entire BBI rally, we want to focus on the sideshow. The second part, Ben, is this. That number one, it is one thing to be in Senate or in Parliament.
Yes.
It is another to have the will of the people and the political goodwill to get you going. And I'll give you an example. We know when we voted in 2010 that we wanted to have minimum and maximum land sizes in this country. The problem has been that the will of the people is there, but the political will is not there. What BBI and the route that the BBI rallies and the BBI leadership has taken, and why we need to recognize it for what it is is you need for these two things to meet. You need the political will and the will of the people to meet. Now, in that particular meeting point, it does not happen as a singular event, which is why there's a resolution that is read because people have met and discussed those resolutions.
Okay.
And then there's a rally because you need to popularize these things. The truth of the matter is this, that if we do not do so, do not expect that the political class will of their own motion go to parliament and decide to disguise even a simple matter such as the fight against corruption. If you look at what happened with Waititu, I can promise you, because many governors have been impeached before, the reason that impeachment was possible was because the will of the people was behind it. So we need to understand that BBI is a process, it is not a rally. And even in those rallies, just because we focus on 2 seconds of a speech there does not mean that substantive things are not being done.
Okay.
Number 3, we cannot assume that the memoranda of the people of Kitui or Ukambani in general should be ignored because they were not given to Haji. Let's remember that the process that Haji has been given is to receive written memoranda, of which all of those rallies have, to be delivered to the office and then compiled. So to throw it out and say, because Moses Kuria wanted a chair and because they were fighting with Sifuna about a chair and now he was kicked out, now the whole of the BBI rally is false, it's a fool's errand. Because let me ask you a question. You know Moses Kuria. When he went there, what did you expect he wanted? That's exactly what he wanted. So let's stop.
So it is working fine in your book.
Let's analyze truthfully. Let's analyze correctly.
And Ben, just to buttress the point, you know, the picture that we get is that there was chaos. We even had utterances by the Kitui governor, Charity Ngilu, saying that Moses Kuria should be charged. Now, we all know about Moses Kuria. This is an MP who was saying that if you go to hell and you meet Raila Odinga, just know that it is hell. That if everything wrong about Raila Odinga.
To be fair, even the president has said some political...
They shook hands.
Has thrown some political barbs
and they buried the hatchet. That is the spirit that got Moses Kuria back to the dance. Because again, it is Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka who pleaded with the crowd to allow him back. So the spirit is there, but there are politicians who probably are just out to give us snippets of what BBI is not all about, and then people are riding on that.
Kipchumba, a lot has been said about BBI, the latest one in Kitui, at that. What are we thinking? What do you think from your book?
I think, thank you, Ben, for the opportunity. Yesterday, watching the BBI rally, it was painful, I will say. It was painful, it was an eyesore. You know, when we talk about building bridges initiative, somebody will expect that the people, one, nobody owns the event. You know, at some point, Charity Ngilu told us that you cannot come to my event. When it is building bridges, and it is the one that came out of the handshake, it belongs to Kenyans. It is about Kenyans coming together. No matter the infractions of Moses Kuria and the late coming, he does not deserve to be ejected. The reason is this, Ben. Tomorrow, these rallies will not be held only in Ukambani, Mombasa, and Kisumu. They will go to other places. Moses Kuria, with all his problems, is an elected member of parliament of Gatundu. Gatundu people deserve some respect when whatever is happening, and you cannot respect Gatundu people by disrespecting their leader. The other thing, when you talk about, there are things I don't understand what we want to say. We need to explain 3 things. There is the handshake between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. There is the BBI, the initiative itself, the one led by Haji. And then now there's the amorphous one, this one of Raila Odinga and this group. I don't know where it falls. The problem is here. When you hear whatever it was being said by Governor Kifutha Kibwana,
yes,
for once I appreciated one thing. Of all the 4 BBI meetings, the Ukambani meeting raised solid. Going forward, if we can sustain the momentum of the meetings behind, what do we call the meetings before this rally? Those close
Town
to
halls.
the town halls.
The town halls, okay.
If we maintain the town halls discussing pertinent issues,
Yes.
like the one, I believe the one Kivuta Kibwana read, are the issues from the town hall, we are in the right direction. I got two things from that town hall presentation. One was on the issue of shared prosperity, their minerals, how they want them utilized. And the other issue, which truly is an issue affecting the Ukambani region, is the issue of environmental degradation.
Yes.
Those two came out for me as starters, but now the political aspect has a lot to, they have a lot to catch up. If today you go getting good ideas, but you come and plant them in a ground that is so intolerant as it was, the just basic question is this: why doesn't these rallies get organized well in a manner that if somebody is sitting in Migori or Busia or in Tarbo, they can watch the rally without being anxious?
Mark,
because the problem, the other issue is this: if you do not organize these rallies well, and tomorrow you come to Kiambu, do you think Moses Kuria might be as bad as he looks? But there are people who support Moses Kuria. What are we doing? And then again, for those who have a small memory, a fish-like memory, we invite them to visit 205, 206, 207. We began from the same place. And just a final point, there is something that has been discussed here loosely. It might be elitist, but we need to contextualize it. The will of the people is expressed in three places. It's not in a political rally. Political will is expressed in public participation, gazetted ones. Political will is expressed through elected leaders. And political will is expressed by the head of state, acting as the head of state, the president.
You don't think what's happening, the massive support the BBI is receiving, you don't qualify that as political will?
The problem is this, Ben. You might receive all
there's
that.
no problem. I think for an election, there must be a campaign. That's as simple as that. That if the political will is expressed through voting, then how do you vote? You must vote for something that you understand.
But we do not have
And
a document.
It is
What
through
are
campaigns
we getting
that
will
people
for?
get to understand some of these things. And there are three approaches. There are three approaches to the whole BBI debate. There is the politicals' town hall meetings, and then there is the technocrat town hall meeting, then there is the political rally. So when Kipchumba talks about it cannot be expressed in these public places, then how do people get to vote? And you see, the critical thing in a democracy is that the electorate or the citizenry must understand the choices that they have. And therefore, the election, the campaigns are sacrosanct. So you cannot say that someone can express his political will as an individual on something he doesn't understand.
Yes, Mark, 20 seconds on
The thing that I find hilarious is this, that we cannot say it was an ISO, but it had very good deliberations. And then at the same time, we cannot say that it came from a handshake and a BBI initiative that was launched by President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, and then say you do not understand what Raila Odinga is doing, when Raila Odinga is a core signatory to the handshake. So we cannot say that Raila Odinga has kidnapped his own thing.
Then, just the simple reason that a man has died and he was your friend is not a justification that you follow him to the grave.
All right.
But you know, Ben, at the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, are these rallies consistent with national and public interest? What is the backstory? And then number two, if the only reason why you're attending these rallies is to go and create drama, please organize your rally. There is no way, you know, that maybe the chief guest is Raila Odinga, and then you deliberately come after he's seated, and you want to be given a preferential seat.
All right, we'll continue this discussion right after this quick commercial break, where we'll talk about the other side of the political divide, who have been a bit critical of the BBI. They say they support the BBI. That is the Tanga wing of the ruling Jubilee Party. They did hold a meeting in Naivasha after the Mombasa BBI rally. The party denied that being a parliamentary group meeting. They decided to hold parallel rallies. They decided against that later on in the week. So what next for the Tanga team, who find themselves in a kind of catch-22 situation concerning the way forward for the BBI? Don't go too far. This is Inside Politics.